4 minutes to 7. It's time to find out whatever's happening wherever you are in terms of news, travel and weather, and we'll see you at 7 with the headlines. And policing, Kit Malthouse. Good morning to you, Kit Malthouse. I wonder, should we run a clip of the Assistant Chief Constable, Owen Wetherill, and get your response to what he's saying? Do you want to give me your reaction to Assistant Chief Constable basically saying it's too confusing?
Well, look, the one thing we're learning about this pandemic is that it's challenging on all sorts of levels. And what the Prime Minister tried to do in introducing the 3 tiers was bring an element of clarity. But look, there is plenty of information out there on the internet where people can go and inform themselves about what the regulations are in their area. And that fundamentally is what we recommend everybody has to do. We all need to recognise we have an individual duty towards our collective health, and it makes it even more important that people go and inform themselves.
Interesting that he also said that he thought that more simplified, consistent tiers would be implemented about 10 days ago. Where do you think he would have got that impression from?
Well, look, we've obviously been discussing the regulatory landscape with the police on a regular basis.
Do you think people are going to comply now? Do you think people have reached a point where they're just simply fed up with this confusion, regardless of you telling us all to go to the internet and look up the restrictions in our areas?
Well, look, I think everybody's fed up. I mean, we're all fed up. Nobody's enjoying this experience. But in truth, this is the moment, as we see the numbers mounting, that we all have to grit our teeth and do our best to get through it. And what it poses a burden.
It's interesting you say. Sorry to interrupt.
At this moment, as numbers rise, that we all stick to our guns.
It's interesting you say that. Yet we saw those pictures in Liverpool of people gathering in large crowds once the pubs shut after 10 p.m. We're showing them right now. Of course, the restrictions come into effect at midnight tonight in Manchester. You're the policing minister. What is in place? What have you been told is likely to happen? What have you been told is needed in terms of police presence tonight in Manchester, Greater Manchester, for example?
Well, look, each force has its own plan that they've put together around the next phase of the pandemic. We've distributed £60 million across the country, 30 to local authorities and 30 to police forces to help them with the effort to and hope that they comply. And as I say, in the vast majority of cases, that's exactly what's happening. We are seeing some, people taking the mickey, frankly, and not complying. And in those circumstances, the police are enforcing, particularly where we've seen things like unlicensed music events. But, most people recognise the very dangerous moment for us in this pandemic and are complying. And let's hope that continues.
Just briefly, have you been told of the plan tonight in Manchester by the police?
So there have been ongoing conversations with the Home Office and with Greater Manchester Police, and frankly with the Manchester authorities generally about what the framework looks like. As this is a really critical moment for us, that we stick to our guns, grit our teeth, get through this and try and come through in as best shape as we possibly can.
Rishi Sunak is later announcing a change when it comes to government support for businesses and those who have been formerly furloughed in the job support scheme. What is driving? I know you won't be able to tell us what he's going to announce, but what has been thought about in terms of driving the change in what support is being offered?
Well, I think, and as you're right, I don't know what's coming this afternoon, but what we have seen from the Chancellor throughout the whole pandemic has been a willingness to be agile, as this afternoon. There are lots of areas where, people are filling MPs' inbox with emails of distress and concern. That's all being fed in. And so hopefully this afternoon we'll see the Chancellor, as I say, tack a little bit, trim the sails to make sure that we're getting the right balance in terms of the support that we're offering across the economy.
Yesterday, of course, we saw the motion on free school meals rejected. What would you say to the children who are perhaps watching this morning who are hungry, who will in some ways feel that this government has let them down and doesn't care?
Well, hopefully the kids watching this morning will be going to school today and will get the free school meals that are provided as part of that situation. But also the fact that while, the decision last night, it's a really tough one and it's been a great campaign by Marcus Rashford, we took a decision early on that the best way to target money to low-income families was through the welfare system that's been carefully built over the last few years. And so that's why there's an extra £9 billion got into that system, an uplift in universal credit of £20 a week, £1,000 a year. We've adjusted housing benefit to help people with their rent. We've given £63 million to local authorities to help with hardship funding where they have families in particular difficulty. So while we recognise the concern and the place that this concern is coming from, that we think there is a different route by which we can assist those families, and that's what we're trying to do. And we don't, decry the motivations, and we hope that our motivations won't be decried either in return. These are really tough decisions that we're having to be made across the whole of the economy and across the whole of the population, and we think this is the best route to get money to the low paid.
Kit Malthouse, Minister for Crime and Policing, thank you for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Time now is 7:40. That means it's time for Mike's Sport Bulletin. What do you got for us? You've got some action, which is always good.
Action on the